Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. You know, Big C, we love Canada so much. We always talk about them, but there's still no one I love more than all you good old boys down south in the land of the free, in the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for this happy Friday?
Well, Charlton, I think I'm walking around free here on this Friday and stuff. You know, I got loving the heat down here, Charlton. It's hoping that the mosquitoes stay away from the fire parties.
Well, Big C, you know, mosquitoes like to bite dark meat, Big C, so be careful. I want to tell you that. I learned that the hard way. I want to say today is a beautiful July 21st, 2017, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. You know, a lot of the great things happened yesterday. Two great iconic figures kind of got released a little bit. O.J. Simpson was released from a correctional facility in Nevada, I believe, down near Las Vegas, of all places. And Sean Spicer was released from Donald Trump's regime in the White House. Big C, your thoughts?
Everybody knew that this thing was coming with Sean Spicer. You know, from day one when he came out the day after inauguration, in his inaugural press conference and stuff, and blasted the media and praising the president and all. But you could see how his energy was waning, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
In the past several months, that he was not as enthusiastic about going out telling the day-to-day lies, and they even started replacing him at several press conferences, Charlton, and now they relieved him of all of his duties. And also the scenario with O.J. Simpson, who has become the number one media
Yeah.
24 years later. You know, it's amazing, America's fascination with O.J.
Yeah.
And the media, how they make this such an event.
Yeah.
O.J. spent almost 10 years, Charlton, in a Nevada correctional institution for a crime that the average citizen gets only 1 year for, Charlton.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and his crime was manifested, you know, and the sentence was manifested from his previous, you know, trial that he had in Southern California. This was a payback sentencing that the judge even stated it at his sentencing that, I'm taking into consideration that the scenario that occurred in Southern California.
Double jeopardy.
So even this O.J. trial, Charlton, when you looked at it in Nevada, and even the one in Southern California, that O.J. was acquitted. He may not have been acquitted if those officers down in Simi Valley who beat Rodney King within 2 breaths of his life had not been acquitted also. So this basically was a tit for tat in society, and society has a problem with that. You know, African Americans have been abused throughout American history. Regardless whether you're an athlete or nobody, you have been abused. And when society saw that an African American escaped a scenario that potentially could have went the other way, they didn't appreciate that. But they don't have any problems, Charlton, in society when Anglos get off for committing crimes against minorities, not just African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, and all. We've seen that throughout the history of America. So this O.J. scenario that has captivated the media all over again, the only reason O.J. will stay popular because the media makes him popular and it sells advertisement and endorsement.
Big C,
The media did not talk about O.J. This is a 70-year-old man, Charlton. How many 70-year-old men other than Donald Trump captivate the spotlight of America?
That's a very good point. You know, I want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And, you know, something I want to bring up, too, because we worked in media. You've been at it a lot longer than I have, Big C. So you saw back in the day when people reported just the facts, the Walter Cronkite era, which I really miss. And as we always tell people, you can always go out and just Google things, whether it's us or whether it's anybody else. Go ahead and Google it. That way you know what's going on. And when we think about that one situation with the Simpson trial, and you talk about the judges, I want anyone with a brain and with the Google on your phone to understand what double jeopardy means. You can't try the same person for the same crime twice in a different district. You can't do it. It's illegal. But these same judges, just like in the Kerner Commission back in the 1960s that was issued by former Lyndon Baines Johnson, former president, justice is never fair. It's always skewed for white Americans. Always has been, perhaps always will be. And for even you most liberal that think that everything's equal because we can all get along and live in the same neighborhoods, you have judges telling you They're telling you whether you're ignorant or smart. This is a trial for what happened in '95. It had nothing to do with what happened this last thing in Las Vegas. Even with that, OJ is an ignorant person for continuing to put himself in those situations. Big C, I want to touch on a few things happening also in the White House with Spicer, because as we get on Donald Trump and we get on what's happening in the White House, we've been talking about this for a long time. And we've been talking about it, you and I, since before he was actually inaugurated, how there's so many crooked people that are associated with his administration, that eugenic look, they all look like they come from the far right, and now they're dropping like flies. Spicer, why is anyone, I don't care if you're the most staunch Republican, a sports fan, doesn't matter, if you know that this man has been crooked, meaning Trump and all the people around him, how do they keep supporting him and all the people are starting to abandon him now? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, it came down to the embarrassment of the party. You endorsed this man to become president, to be representative of your party and potentially representative of the United States, which he eventually became.
Yeah.
And he achieved something that the party did not expect for him to achieve. That was the troubling part right off the bat. They were all in shock, and they're still in shock.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with this scenario is that the person that you supposedly be backing to represent your party, now you're saying you're going to abandon ship.
Yeah.
That's saying that you're abandoning your party's platform.
Yeah.
That's the reason why the Republicans have such a hard time with this scenario with Donald Trump, even though they know of all his wrongdoings. They just publicly have not come out and openly lambasted him. It is, matriculating out through speech here and there, Charles. And it's starting to come out even more slowly. But even Trump is more troubling than the rest of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Because he is constantly trying to deflect from everything going on. Even, as of last night, Charles, and he's talking about giving all of his family pardons.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to give your family's pardons if they haven't done anything wrong?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to grant a pardon to yourself as a sitting president and you haven't done anything wrong?
They're all lawyered up.
This is the most troubling part of it.
Yeah.
And even his constituents that have voted for him and backed him are starting to waver now because there's nothing been done, Charlton. And I'll go back 6 months as a president, no major legislation passed.
No.
I look at the first, even before he took office, when Curry and Air Conditioning was talking about leaving the United States.
Yeah.
And he goes and threatens Curry that he saved 350 jobs by giving, Curry and Air Conditioning a $7 million tax break.
Yeah.
Which he didn't make public to the American public. To let them know, hey, we're giving you $7 million to keep 350 million.
Yeah. I'll take that deal.
The math on that, I'll take that deal also.
That's called the art of the deal, Big C. The art of the deal is what it's called.
but even last month, Charlton, when we were talking about Sears and Kmart closing 174 stores in total, we heard the president say nothing about saving those jobs from those 174 stores and some 10,000 employees, Charlton.
Yeah.
He said nothing about that. It was easy to do 350 because that's the low-hanging fruit on the tree that all the kids pick. Okay?
Yeah.
But when it got up to that, when the adults have to reach up and get the good fruit, Donald Trump couldn't reach up there.
Yeah.
So he did nothing about those 174 stores and 10,000 plus employees that were losing their jobs. He said, that's just casualty of art of the deal. Yeah. They're just going to figure out something else to do.
Well, I'll tell you what, Big C, and ironically, and I want our country to succeed, but I couldn't believe what I heard just the other day. They're talking about Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act. A lot of people don't know it's the same thing. And when the president said, just let it fail, that's a euphemism for saying let people die. 30 million people kicked off of the insurance rolls, and just because you can't have it your way, you say let it fail, that means let people die if they can't get health care. And ironically, you have Senator John McCain being diagnosed with brain cancer. At the same time, he doesn't have a problem going to the doctor and seeing if they can get medical care for him to check on his illness, Big C. Top in the world.
At the Mayo Clinic.
Yeah.
People he was able to see.
Yeah, and so, and I've always admired John McCain just based on what he's been through. I know a lot of people have doubts about how he got free, whether he dropped diamonds on people, but whatever. You do what you got to do to stay alive. But I do think he's a great citizen. He fought for the country, and I never did. And he also was captured, and he came home. I know Donald Trump made fun of him, said he doesn't like people who were captured. Well, Donald Trump's about to be captured himself, Big C, by the FBI. And I mean, it's just a matter of time. It's unfortunate, though. It's like Watergate Part 2. But hopefully we'll keep eyes on CNN to find out more what's going on. Or in fact, CNN will keep eyes on Big C to find out what's going on, and then they'll talk about it later, Big C.
What I would like for to occur, they're talking about repealing and replacing Obamacare. Why doesn't the the Senate give up all of their health care.
Yeah.
Until they replace Obamacare, since it's such a tragedy.
Wow.
Why does not the Senate vote? And I mean, American citizens, if you really want something to happen, ask the Senate and the House, ask all your elected officials in America.
Ask Ms. McConnell to give it up.
To give up all of their government-funded health
Yeah.
insurance while they're repealing and replacing Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act.
You don't think Senator McConnell would give up? You don't think he would give up? McConnell would give up his health care, Big C? As old and as bad as he looks, he wouldn't give it up to make sure that they got it right, Big C. Is that what you're saying?
Well, Charles, you think he's going to give up free Botox?
I don't know if he.
My point is,
Yeah.
Since Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, is so appalling to America,
Yeah.
and that so many people are premiums are tripling and doubling, why don't all of our Washington elected officials
Yeah.
give up their health care, the health care that we pay for as American citizens?
Yeah.
Give that up while they're doing their job that they were elected to do, and see if they can get something done in that quick time frame.
Well, Big C, that would be called leading by example. And speaking of leading by example, you know, there's so much going on in the world of sports, and now we have the British Open. We just had Wimbledon across the pond. Now we have the British Open. Maybe the crowds aren't that I guess interested because of the rain. I guess rain keeps people away, Big C. But I just look at it, and it's about. Could you imagine watching the Super Bowl and the stadiums half empty, Big C, and we're pushing it as saying the greatest game in the world, and how golf is such a masterful game and a game of intellectuals. But I know they've tried to make up some type of competition. We had Tiger Woods, and we had Mickelson, and we had the good old boys back in the day, whether it's Jack competing against whoever was trying to catch him. But today it just seems like as much as they try to push Spieth and Johnson and McIlroy, golf just does not have the appeal worldwide when OJ, being released from an institution, is more popular on sports shows than the British Open. Big C, your thoughts?
You know, you would expect the British Open, Charlton, to be the cover page of every sports network
Yeah.
that came on the air.
Yeah.
But it was buried on the back page in a little segment.
Yeah.
You know, and OJ, you know, captivated 45 minutes of every sports show today, Charlton.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, what is the fascination with America? You know, I do this comparison. I look at OJ.
Yeah.
You know, and everything is skeptical in that scenario.
Yeah.
But also look at George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, where everyone heard the audio of this man killing this young boy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Murdering this young boy and walked free. And yet, white America's not appalled with that. They're
Yeah.
okay with that. White America listened to the audio of George Zimmerman tracking down a young African-American kid, walking up on him and shooting him to death.
And saying he felt, yeah.
Audio that George Zimmerman recorded.
Yeah.
Okay? And America was okay. They were okay with letting him go, saying it was justified because the kid was a 17-year-old black male hitting home at night,
Yeah.
not bothering anybody.
Yeah.
George Zimmerman was justified because he was a rent-a-cop and he had the ability to carry a gun, and so he could go shoot this kid because he was feeling fidgety that night.
Yeah.
And America's okay. We've heard no outcry since the George Zimmerman release, since he's been acquitted of killing Trayvon Martin. Let me
Yeah.
give you one other one, Charlton.
Yeah.
Stacey Anthony, her 2-year-old daughter, died mysteriously. She was, you know, locked up, tried, and everything.
Yeah.
White Americans not crying about that.
No.
You kill your 2-year-old daughter, and everybody know you did it, but it's okay. You can go out and party and everything else.
Yeah.
But America's fascinated with OJ getting out of prison. We have a white and a Latino American walking around that are killing a child, a 2-year-old child, and a 17-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And it's okay by white America.
And you know what
You talked about racism yesterday in America,
Yeah.
Charlton.
Yeah.
That's pure racism.
Yeah, and I do know that because the people can Google or either read the Kerner Commission, they'll see that things haven't changed. That was instituted by a former president. That's a white guy that did that, and they understood that there's two Americas here, separate and unequal based on race, not based on education, not based on how hard you try, but based on race. And when I heard someone on CNN say the other day that, you know, O.J. Simpson, he didn't seem contrite enough, and I think he should have spent more time behind bars. And she's Caucasian, by the way. And there was another black lady on the program. I don't know their backgrounds, but I believe they're in the law industry. And she said, you know what? there's been thousands of people of color that have been murdered in this country since civil rights, murder, and pre-civil rights, definitely a lot more then. And there's never any, I guess, what they call a group thinking to go out and get the white guys that did it. Whether it's Emmett Till, there's so many people. The church bombing in Alabama, and even the Trayvon Martin thing that's recent, and then the Rodney King situation. There's never an outcry in the white community to go get rid of those bad guys and find those bad guys that was on videotape. On videotape. OJ's situation was not on tape. Whether he did or didn't do it, everybody has their own opinion, but we're not there. We've seen things where people are on tape and still got acquitted. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, think about the number of African Americans and minorities who are incarcerated on false evidence. We talked about the officer in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Who has 53 standing cases who was seen on his own body cam planting evidence. He forgot to turn off his own body cam as he was planting drugs, saying that it belonged to an African American, Charlton.
Yeah.
This has gone on throughout society and still going on today. White America doesn't see that. White America has a mentality whether the black guy has been arrested or he's in jail, he had to have done something wrong.
Yeah, and that's a shame.
That's been the mindset of white society forever.
Yeah.
Not understanding that we have a big hole that we're trying to crawl out of.
Yeah.
Throughout the history, when you think about it, you spoke about Emmett Till.
Yeah.
Those men who killed Emmett Till bragged and confessed about what they did. A white jury let them off, said, hey, it was justified because he whistled at a white woman.
Yeah.
Regardless of what terms of society are, you go out and kill a 14-year-old boy and it's justified, Charlton?
Yeah.
We've seen that throughout America. You know, killings of African-American men by whites have not stopped at any point in American society.
No.
Most of the people now carry a badge and say, well, it's justified. All of a sudden, they forget they have on their body cam or their dash cam after they filled out the report. But Charlton, it's 2 to 3 years later when this film is released.
Yeah.
And people's like, wow, didn't realize it happened.
Yeah.
There was no outcry from white America when Dylan Booth went into the church in South Carolina 2
No.
years ago and shot up the entire church. It was okay. Well, wow, that's a tragedy.
Yeah.
No one talked about hanging him, lynching him, hunting him down, sitting outside his parents' house, stalking his family. None of those things occurred, Charlton.
No.
He goes in and kills 9 black people, shoots 5 others, but it was okay.
And that's...
No one said this man was a monster. And that story is gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. Even though he's been convicted, the story is gone.
Yeah, and so unfortunately, we know because a lot of people are in denial, just like with the Trump administration, so many crooked people with their Russian mob angles and Russian mobs and former KGB members invited to Trump Tower and even into the White House, and they still can't find President Obama's birth certificate, right? The garbage that this guy started about being a birther and not being a legitimate American. Look at what's happening to him now. His walls are all crumbling down, but I just want to say we'll follow more of that in the news as it happens. We'll bring it to you along with sports. But see, there's something about our society where it's just a fact. This business called male escorts and the escort industry is worldwide. It's not, and this is real talk, so we're just going to be, you can Google it. It's worldwide. It's not simple news. Been around since the beginning of time. We have a college football coach that had to step down because of some impropriety, I guess, dealing with escort services. I think Louisville and Rick Pitino had the same issue just a few years ago. They're not the first coaches to deal with it. It's happened. I mean, Elliot Spitzer, so many people, but coaches don't support the escort industry in every major city and even small cities in the world. This industry exists. Why are we seeming like we're so appalled that a college football coach who fits the demographic of men who go out and buy these services, if you look at what he looks like, that's the demographic of the men who cater those businesses, about 80% of them. Why is the world seeming shocked? Mix of your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, it's sort of like asinine and childish all at the same time.
Yeah.
That you have a witch hunt for a college football coach because he's calling some 800 phone number that's an escort service. He's not bothering anybody. He's not going out being a pedophile like Jerry Sandusky, being advocated by Joe Paterno, okay?
Yeah.
He's not doing anything like that. He's dealing with an adult service. He's not chasing a little boy in the locker room. He's dealing with an adult service, like at Penn State.
Yeah.
Okay? This is sort of like what we had several years ago with Bobby Petrino when he was fired from Arkansas.
Yeah.
When they found out he was involved with a staff member.
Yeah.
Okay? These are adults dealing with adults. It's a very stressful job, just like any other corporate job. That's what a college football coach is a corporate head, all right?
Yeah.
Period. He's overseeing hundreds of personnel. And he wasn't bothering anybody. You know, Hugh Freeze, you know, when I look at this scenario, a lot of that comes from outside pressure.
Yeah.
Is that he became a risen coach in the SEC in
Yep.
a short amount of time. In 5 years, Charlton, he went from the outhouse almost to the penthouse.
Yeah.
The only coach to beat Alabama in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
In consecutive years.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, you got to also wonder where this investigation came from.
Yeah.
Who's looking at who?
Yeah.
Also, Charlton, he's having top 10 recruiting classes in the United States.
Yeah.
From a program that couldn't get 2 kids to come to the university 2 years ago
Yeah.
to a top 10 recruiting class.
Well,
that bothers a lot of people.
Well,
but for the chancellor of the university to know which phone calls you're making,
yeah.
that's a little too spooky.
Yeah.
Spying on who?
Maybe the chancellor also knows where those phone calls are coming from too, Big C, and so we'll get.
There were duplicate phone calls on his bill.
Yeah, that's very true, Big C. That's very true. One, and also, Big C, as we were saying, that's just, it's also just so hypocritical. You know, people go to Las Vegas and have fights in Las Vegas and Atlantic City and different places around the world because adult men and women, they're going to do what they want to do, whether it's Amsterdam, whether it's London, England, Paris, San Francisco, anywhere in the world. I just hate when we seem like we're so shocked. We had that Tammy Faye Baker deal back in the day, these religious, you know, these religious paragons of virtue, and they had their own issue. So I hate to see a coach lose his job just because of speculation. We don't know what he did or didn't do, but we do know that one coach, he's not the one supporting that industry. It happens all over the world. And speaking of all over the world, I want to touch on a few things, Big C, as we get ready to wrap some things up. You know, we talked about all the transactions happening in the NBA. Kyrie Irving. Now, a lot of people are saying he let LeBron down. Just think about this, Big C. He should have told LeBron what he was going to do. LeBron doesn't sign his paycheck, okay? When LeBron had the same opportunity to go to greener pastures, he did that. Whether Kyrie stays or goes, I think he's tired of being Robin to Batman. Does that make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts? Yeah.
So why should he be left with a team that was built for LeBron, not built for Kyrie?
Yeah.
That's what you have to understand. You build teams around certain players to make them better. And so that's what Cleveland has been in the business of doing for the last 3 years, is building up a team that fit what LeBron did well, not what Kyrie did well. Kyrie would be better served going elsewhere because he only has 2 years left on his contract that he signed previous to LeBron coming back to Cleveland.
Yeah.
And he thought Cleveland would be molding that team around him, not around LeBron. Now LeBron has come back and going to make his second exodus out of Cleveland. Kyrie is sitting around, so why should I be sitting here once again trying to retool what LeBron has left behind?
Yeah.
I would be better served going to an organization that has the players that fit my talent.
Yeah.
When you think about Kyrie Irving, he's the best finishing guard around the rim in the NBA.
Yeah.
This man is uncanny. I mean, he's Houdini inside the
Oh, yeah.
And so there's other organizations around the NBA, Charlton, that would be very well served to have a Kyrie Irving. Think about if he went someplace like San Antonio with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Or even going to Philadelphia where they have those 3 young talented big men that he could really help with his penetration skills, nipping the ball off to them.
Yeah.
There's a couple teams, Charlton, that are on the cusp. Even Minnesota Timberwolves that are right there. They just acquired Jimmy Butler. They got Wiggins, who's been an up-and-rising star in the NBA, Karl Anthony Towns. So they have 3 young players, Charlton, that he would be a great blend with those players, Charlton. So
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving wanted to make this move to make a team his own. He's much better than CP3.
Oh, yeah.
Just went to the Rockets and everyone wants to sing his praise. Kyrie Irving is an all-star and a finals player, Charlton, who's been in the finals 3 consecutive years, so he knows how to win.
Yeah.
He's going to be the most added asset to any organization if they pull the trigger on making a trade for him here, Charlton, before the season starts.
Big C, that's a very good point. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And for every sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century, and they work with Big C Sports. When you reach out to them, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. They work with pro athletes, collegiate athletes, even your high school athletes and your mom and pop soccer leagues. Big C, something I want to bring up that I thought is very telling about the world of sports and how just, you mentioned the thing with Kyrie Irving. You've been an athlete. You've been with several teams. just touch on it a little bit without even saying the names of the teams. But when coaches and teams want to let you go, they don't hold a press conference. They just say, you got to go. We're gonna make a trade for you. They don't hold a press conference and say, I can't believe that you didn't tell the other players before we let you go. The guy with the paycheck decides who tells who when they let you go. Big C, your thoughts?
When a team releases you, they call you to the head coach's office, general manager's office, or whoever.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, we're going to part ways here. Things are, we're going in a different direction. Whatever dialogue they want to use with you.
Yeah.
They don't ask you if you're okay. They're telling you you fired.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
That's it. You need to go somewhere and try to find employment. Or you may need to seek another profession other than what you're trying to play right now.
Yeah.
And this happens every year, Charlton. So when a player decides or has the power that he wants to make that financial or personal decision in his life, Charlton, what he wants to do, the media feels, how the hell does it, particularly an African-American athlete, Charlton, how the hell can he say what he wants to do? How can he tell an organization, when the hell did he get the power to all of a sudden make a decision on his life?
Yeah.
I want to see the broadcaster that walks in and ESPN says, okay, I'm tired of working here. I'm over Fox. Or vice versa, guys. I'm going to go over NBC because I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, they haven't hired me yet. I just know I can walk in there and get a job.
Yeah. That's true.
Tell me one guy in the media say, hey, I can just walk into somewhere and get a job because I don't think they have an opening, but I know I'm better than everybody else, and they'll fire somebody just because I want to be here.
Yeah.
So this is the same parallel that you have in professional sports, hockey, baseball, basketball, football, soccer, whatever it is, Charlton.
Yeah.
That when an athlete has now obtained the power to make a decision on his own personal career, the media can't understand that. And I don't know why these guys are not all buffoons, okay?
No.
There's some highly intelligent...
Oh, Kyrie's very smart.
Plus they have intelligent representation, Charlton.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're not just walking out there with a blind eye when they make these critical life-turn decisions.
Yeah.
So I don't know why the media always wants to beat up on the athlete, and it's mainly the African-American athlete that they're going after. Just like in society.
Yeah.
It's the African-American that takes the beat down, even in the professional sports world, and we can't figure out why. This Hugh Freeze story, Charlton, watch it. From the University of Mississippi. It won't last through next week, okay?
No.
It's over with.
Yeah.
Everybody will hear about it. You'll hear about OJ next week.
Yeah, and that's a funny point you brought up. Also, just in the NBA, because you did talk about it, I'm sure when Gordon Hayward left Utah for Boston, he didn't tell Rubio that they brought into Utah to kind of team up with him. He didn't tell him. He told the guy in Boston that offered him the check with all those green numbers on it, Big C. That's what he told. So they didn't hold him accountable. Why they're trying to hold Kyrie Irving accountable. Get your money while you can, because that's the way the world is, Big C. There's so many things in our final segment today on this beautiful Happy Friday on July the 21st. I love this sport as much as I love anything in the world of sports. It's called college football. And you and I have seen the fact that since integration, the African-American athlete has turned this into a billion-dollar industry like never before. And we know that, okay? They just don't get the jobs when they're finished playing. But I do want to run down, we ran down the Pac-12. You came up with Marcus Allen as the best running back in the history of the Pac-12, whether it was a Pac-8 or Pac-10 at the time. And also we touched on the SEC, and I believe you came up with Herschel Walker as one of the best players out of the running backs out of the history of that conference, even though a lot of people might think Bo Jackson. I think they're both very strong. We went up north to Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler territory, Big C. And I think Ron Dayne is the guy that gathered your attention as one of the better running backs in the history, even though they had Archie Griffin that won 2, Heisman trophies. And now we venture into a conference that used to be known as a running conference, but now it's called the Run and Shoot Conference. The Southwest Conference, now known as the Big 12. And you look at schools like Texas and Oklahoma, and you have Oklahoma State, Kansas State, etc. We know they've expanded some. Give me your thoughts on some of the great players, whether it's a Gale Sayers at Kansas, a John Riggers at Kansas, or Adrian Peterson, Ricky Williams. What would you say are some of the top running backs in the history of that conference, Big C? Your thoughts?
When you think about some of the top running backs in the history of that conference, I mean, this is a conference that's still with us. When you think about even Oklahoma, Owens winning the Heisman Trophy.
Oh, yeah.
Billy Sims winning the Heisman Trophy. We talked about Adrian Peterson, who's had a very illustrious pro career coming back from a devastating knee injury, gaining over 2,000 yards in that season. This conference, Charlton, when you look up and down, Ricky Williams is out of this
Yeah.
Earl Campbell, Heisman Trophy winner, Charlton, out of this conference. And think about the great Eric Dickerson of the Pony Express with he and Craig James. If Eric Dickerson had been able to run by himself without Craig James,
amazing.
Eric Dickerson most likely, Charlton, would have been the first 3,000-yard single-season back.
I agree.
How dominant of a player that he was, Charlton. But there's one player that stands off head and shoulders above all those players in the conference, Charlton.
Yeah.
And when he left college, he had the single-season rushing and touchdown record for a running back. That's the great Barry Sanders out of Oklahoma State, Charlton.
Oh, lightning in the bottle.
Phenomenal player, Charlton. I mean, he probably was shorter than you.
Yep. His bank account's not short, I'll tell you that much.
But this is a player that was rejected by Barry Switzer in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because Barry Switzer was known for having great running backs at that university.
And moonshine. That's why he passed him up, Big C, from what I understand. Yeah.
But he felt that Barry Sanders didn't have the talent to play in Oklahoma, although he regretted that for 3 years while he was at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
But when you think about this man, Charlton, just a phenomenal career as a collegiate and a professional ball player. He never was on the best team.
Yeah.
But he was always the best player on the field. That's
Yeah.
the one thing that you could always look at with Barry Sanders. The constant professional character, class, respect is what he brought to the field. But he
Yeah.
also brought a lot more embarrassment to other players.
Yeah.
They're still 3 or 4 defensive backs.
And they still try to find Barry.
And he hasn't played in 10 years. That's how great a player that he was. Nightmares for many defensive coordinators, Jonathan. But when you think about Barry Sanders, and when he left football, he was football's second all-time leading rusher. He's now been eclipsed by a couple of players.
Yeah.
But when you think about his greatness, this man lost more yards from the line of scrimmage than anybody who's gained more than 10,000 yards in pro football history. And if you'd attack that on, he'd still be pro football's all-time leading rusher, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, I think about the character of the Barry Sanders more than I think about anything else.
Yeah.
I never saw Barry Sanders spike a football, Charlton.
That's true.
The ultimate class and respect for your opponent.
That's true.
Teammates. This is what you should do and how you should behave as a professional athlete. You never heard of any problems from Barry Sanders, whether it was in college or professional football. Always a civil activist in his communities, Charlton, doing charitable work and donating money.
Yeah.
This is the class act of a Barry Sanders. We can always talk about his greatness.
Yeah.
His numbers speak volume for themselves, just as with Marcus Allen, Herschel Walker, Bo Jackson, or any other great running back. You spoke about Gale Sears and his rookie rushing record,
Yeah.
Charlton. There will never be eclipsed. But Barry Sanders, his character will never be eclipsed, nor his performance on and off the field as a tremendous athlete and person, Charlton.
Big C, we talked about it yesterday. We talked about the Big Ten Conference and how with Buddy Hayes and Bo Schembechler, they established themselves as the paragon coaches in that conference, basically the marquee coaches and programs, and now they're all running a spread offense, whether it's Urban Meyer, whether it's Harbaugh. They're all coming in and they're putting in the spread because they're using the African-American athlete that used to just be a running back or wide receiver or DB. Now they're saying like a Deshaun Watson, we can let these guys play running back and quarterback at the same time like Colin Kaepernick did up in Nevada and set records up there. And now the NFL is saying, well, even though you were dominant in college and you're winning national championships, we don't want you here in the NFL. We still want a guy who cannot run, who can stand in the pocket. They want the guy that looks like Jeff Goff or Jared Goff down there at the Rams. And just imagine how athletes have made $1 billion industry out of coming after the black athletes. That's what schools have done, and that's a fact. Big C, we've talked about Trump, and I hope our country can stay strong, but there's some things going on in the White House, some shakeups going on. We've been telling you about it. We talked about the NBA and how Kyrie Irving can do just what LeBron James did. He has a right to go wherever he wants to go. The British Open, I think a lot of people were more in tune with OJ getting out at 70 years old than they were with the British Open, but hopefully they'll get more crowds over the weekend. And we talked about this great football conference, Big C, with all the great running backs you talked about, from Gale Sears to Adrian Peterson and to Earl Campbell and Ricky Williams, and now it's known as a run and shoot conference. So that shows you how things change in the history of the world. Big C, there was a guy promoted by the name of Drew Mondini Brown with Muhammad Ali. He had a saying called "Rumble, young man, rumble." Big C, what are you looking forward to in the world of the sports universe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what everybody in the media outlets should be talking about. And they really don't discuss baseball.
No.
They're more interested in NBA free agency
Yeah.
than what the boys of summer are doing.
Yeah.
I love baseball. I love to go to the ballpark, get myself a couple of nice cold ones, maybe get myself a good park dog and everything.
Yeah. That's played, Big C. I love the fact that you're still working on your tan. Vanity never knows how old we are on, Big C. That's true in the world of sports. All on Tour of the Sports is every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to tell you, there's never, ever any room for domestic violence, whether you're a man or a woman. If you know anyone going through that garbage, just call 911, because no one should have to deal with that garbage all on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.